Hello everybody, RazingHel here, and this is Fall of Civilization, and the developer gave me a key for it. Now, unfortunately, the game is still in early access, which means that expectations are understandably low. However, unfortunately, the game falls short on multiple fronts, and rather than just being a snarky cynic about the whole thing, I'm going to try to be constructive in my criticism of the game. So apparently it runs in Unreal Engine. I mean, if you right click it on the taskbar, that's what you get. It says Unreal Engine. And as you can see here with the main menu, there is no background music whatsoever. So we got a nice quiet theme going on here. For the main menu, we could put it in full screen, but apparently Bandicam can't hook the Unreal Engine API or whatever it usually does, so I have to record it in a window, and it defaults to opening in a window as well. So this is what you'll see when you open it up. And if you're interested in actually changing the resolution or putting it in full screen mode, you're gonna actually have to start a game because there are no options in the main menu to adjust the resolution. So we have a credits, change, log, controls. Basically just tells you the keyboard controls. Apparently hot seating is the new hot seat mode. Quick play is basically gets you started without all the nonsense, but the nonsense is actually rather interesting. So I think we're going to do a new game instead. So here we have our faction creation. And for those wondering what this game is about, it's like a real-time strategy, turn-based tactics game, except it's not real-time strategy, it's turn-based. A little contradictory, I suppose. So we can type our own name in here. Let's give it a try. I've done it before, but apparently it didn't remember it. We can choose our faction color. I think we'll stick with yellow. Obviously, the biohazard symbol. I like how all the sliders, you have to double click them before you can actually move them with the mouse. You could just scroll, but that takes forever. Look at that. Yeah, a lot of scrolling if you want to use the mouse wheel. And then the portraits, we're going to go for the elderly guy with a tattoo monocle around his eye. Let's get started. So here we have the game modes. We have annihilation, win through the destruction of all other factions. Peace, win through allying yourself with other factions. Control, hold the most control points by the end of the game. Survival, survive for as long as you can against all odds as factions fight against you. And the condition is usually the same, except for control, in which instead of losing when your units and base are destroyed, you win when the first faction gains 100 points. Then we have player classes, and I'm not sure exactly how this works because these classes exist for each unit in the actual game. So why they have them here as well is a mystery to me. Apparently can have up to 4 AI factions. We're just going to do 1 because the game is slow enough without introducing additional player turns into it. More stuff. And you'll notice a trend here, and that is generally a lack of any description as to what most of this stuff means. Now, the very first time I started the game here, I adjusted a couple of things. I think I gave myself a random weapon and extra 3 ammo, in addition to the 1 extra unit. And when I started the game, I didn't have anything. I didn't have a base. I didn't have any units. So I don't know if this had anything to do with that, but, you know, it is what it is. Here's a rather interesting point. It says select a room image to remove that option. What if I don't want to remove any rooms? I mean, I'm starting a new game, and apparently I'm given these custom options to start the game as I'd like to play it, and yet I am forced to remove 2 rooms from my base design for some reason. Why? Well, we're going to remove Marketplace, obviously, and we're also going to remove the medical bay because I have used the medical bay and it doesn't heal the units that you station in the base. I've put hurt units inside my base with a medical bay room built and nothing happens to them. And you can't actually select them once they're in the base. Oh, good. Now we have map selection. I don't know what test is. I've done city. That was the one that didn't work. So I'm going to do forest because that was the one that did work. Hints and tips basically explains. Basically, I'm not even sure if I'm capturing anything right now. That's rather worrisome. Yeah, I just went into full screen, so I'm going to see what I can do about that. There is no menu button, so you're going to have to press escape to actually get the main menu up. And we're going to exit out of full screen and go back to windowed because I don't want to potentially be losing out on what I'm capturing here. Okay, that works. There is no way to get to that menu from the user interface. So let's explain a few things here. Here we are on the map, and we can scroll about using WASD. You'll notice some of the items in the world are missing their textures. They're simple polygons, I guess you could say. And here we have the enemy base. One is teal and the other one is blue. I don't know. It only shows teal on the map and then blue. Oh, what do you know? Teal and blue are both in it. Okay, that makes sense because I selected one enemy faction, so it gave me two. But anyway, you have these survivors, as you can see right here. And if we go into the profile for the survivor, we actually get to, you have to double click it because reasons. You get to choose what kind of class it is, and all of these classes have different abilities. So if I choose, for example, to do the civil class, I can't change. Okay, I can actually revert it. It says only works if you have not selected a subclass. So you get a second chance there. Here we have the weapons that are available. Right now it's only a slingshot. And one common theme you'll find throughout this game is that despite it being like a strategy game, the developer apparently thought random or RNG mechanics were actually going to improve the game. So instead of, for example, being able to craft a sniper rifle, you're going to just craft and then hopefully you get something that's useful, but a lot of the time you just get something that's garbage. So these are the stats for Darla Saunders. You can change the name in case you ever felt so compelled, although I wouldn't recommend it because by the end of the game, you'll probably have 20 different units and they don't carry over from game to game, so that's going to be a lot of time wasted personalizing them, in my humble opinion. Moving over to the skill tree, everything costs food here. That's what those are, provisions they're called. I call them food. Essentially the same thing. So there is not a whole lot of diversity in terms of resources required to perform these actions, right? And also there's a complete lack of information. So what do you have here? You have engineer, security, and farmer. And you can't click on anything because I don't have the required resources for it. So we'll come back to that later when I have a few more resources. Personality is something else that's besides me as well. We have luck, survival, seasoned, willpower, profit, and a special trait, heavy. And that is our unit. And each unit can be personalized to some extent. Now on the map, there are all kinds of different curiosities to take a look at. You can see right here, some ammo. Right here is a ration. That looks like another ration. That one's some gears. So just general base building stuff. There's also some other things like quests. I think that might be with the magnifying glasses. The game is not very explicit in terms of what things mean. So I'm going to send my unit over here. I did that by right-clicking on the grid. So it's a pretty straightforward grid-based combat system, movement system right there. And then we can end turn. And believe it or not, the game did not have an end turn button apparently implemented until like the end of September. We're going to end the turn. And now we get to watch the AI do its moves. Like I said, I only wanted one AI in it because you can't actually skip this. This stuff is mandatory watching. So obviously that takes time. Actually, there are 3 AIs. What the hell? I thought I only selected one. Maybe I didn't. If I was mistaken on that, correct me. I don't want to make them look worse than they are. That would be very disingenuous of me. Obviously, I don't have enough units here to do anything significant to the enemy, so we're just going to go around collecting resources if we can. I have only 1 gear right now, but let's take a look at our base anyway. So right here is my base. I'm pretty sure I did not choose that picture. If I recall correctly, I chose some elderly, wizened old guy, and this is not the picture I chose. That is the symbol though, and I did choose the yellow color. We don't have any survivors to send out, and one thing you'll notice is that despite all the survivors having their own traits, they are all managed inside the base using this one button. So if, in other words, if you have a soldier class, what are those other two classes as well? The scavenger class and the farmer, survivalist class, whatever it is, they'll all be grouped into this button. So if you move them into your base, which is quite challenging to do actually, when you want to move them back out, you'll just have to click this button and until you pop out the guy that you wanted to get out. In your base, here we have the resources. The base makes resources every turn, essentially. And we have rooms. The market and the medical base started built. So when it said rooms to exclude, they actually meant rooms to include, apparently, because these are the two buildings that I selected I thought were going to be removed from the game, and instead they actually included them by default in my base. So I've probably started off at a disadvantage here because those are two of the, in my opinion, most useless buildings. And then we look at diplomacy. We're okay with two of the factions. Oh wait, we are enemies with one of the factions. Not sure what that means, because that's not a symbol that has a relationship bar over here. And when it says 10 equals good, it doesn't mean 10 red dots or 10 gray dots. I'm assuming it means 10 red dots. So it looks like we have some favor with the target reticule faction. And the other two are probably gonna shoot at me. And in terms of rooms, I think this could be managed a lot better because as it stands, you gotta scroll down this long list of rooms. And there's really no reason why the room icons need to be this big. You simply could have made them smaller, considering that this is a PC game. To the best of my knowledge, it's not being sold on mobile, so it's not like you're going to have a problem with icons that are too small for the player to see. So instead, now I have to scroll down this long list of empty rooms to build stuff. But once you get to the room you want to build, here we go, we click on it, and each room costs 2 gears. We don't have 2 gears, I currently only have 1, and there are different buildings you can build. Some of them less food needed per unit per turn. Recreational unit increases the chances of gaining a new unit each turn. I've mentioned this before. Rather than actually working towards building a unit, you just have to wait for them to randomly spawn, which introduces a needless RNG element into a game where you're sort of touting tactics and strategy as the main selling point. So I'm not sure why that's a good idea. What is the thought process behind doing it that way? But apparently it's the way some people thought it would be a good way to do it. What are we getting to here? End turn. Like I said before, sadly you can't skip the AI doing this. It would be nice if you could at least speed it up, but apparently it's still limited in the sense that you have to watch it play out in its entirety. You have enough movement to grab some ammo, pick that up. Didn't say we picked up ammo, it just said picked up. And that's another complaint I have. It fits into the very low information category. Pick that up as well. That was rations, I believe. And we're gonna head over here to some more ammo. Now there have been people who complained about the graphics, saying that they looked abysmal. I'm not sure if the developer is actually making their own graphics or if this is one of those Unity store graphic purchases type of things, but I will agree that it looks very low polygon, low texture kind of graphics because it is in 3D. And if you're going for maybe like a Fallout, like think Fallout 1 or Fallout 2 aesthetic, that, I mean, it is viable, yeah. That look is still a classic look. It still looks good. Instead, what you have here is sort of the PlayStation 1 look, where we're transitioning into 3 dimensions, but it was very low polygons, very low textures, and it just generally did not age nearly as well. It doesn't have that same timeless classic look to the game. And this could improve as time goes on, but you know, the problem with early access is you're kind of already getting your money, right? So there's not a whole lot of incentive to improve the game besides your reputation maybe, or you wanting to sell it again, because developers like Digital Homicide do exist, who are basically just milking the system pumping out crappy games and then selling them at a sale price because people will buy them for the cards. Now, this game only costs about $6, and it's in early access, like I've mentioned before, but it doesn't look good from the start. I mean, it's something that I think should be in alpha yet, not on Steam Early Access. I mean, you're charging people, ordinary people, money for this. And then people always come to you and say, well, it is only in early access. It's only going to get better as time goes on. Yeah, well, what if it doesn't? Because truth be told, it could get worse. They could make it, they could break it to the point where you can't play it anymore. They could stop supporting it entirely, and once again, we have Kickstarter promises that are unfulfilled. Now, that's just me being pessimistic, and to the best of my knowledge, the developer is acting in good faith and intends to continue developing the game. They have been quite active on the Steam discussion forums and have pretty much responded to a lot of hostility and complaints that some of the players have lodged against the game. So, well, thumbs up for that. I think the developer has a healthy attitude. They're not demanding like respect just because they managed to get a game on Steam. You know, they're willing to back up some of their words, and I can respect that. So we're going to go back into the base, and we can finally build a room. And I think I'm going to go ahead and build, let's see here, probably the repair station, because we'll get extra goods per turn, which means we can build more stuff per turn. And we've also gotten another survivor randomly generated, so we're going to eject him. And here he is. And now this one, we're going to go into the active unit thing there, and we're going to select civil. And then we're going to look at the skill tree, and now we're going to go with, we could either do engineer, farmer, or security. Now, I know farmer allows you to build little resource buildings. Engineer allows you to build, I think, guns and other sort of stuff that you can equip in this screen. For example, you can build these things. So I can equip that just by clicking on it like that. And security allows you to build, how would I put it? It's like barricades, but you can't easily choose where to put them. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose farmer. There we go. And we have enough to build a structure, but first I'm going to move them a little bit away from the base because I don't want the farm to be quite that close. Enter it again, go to the skill tree, and now here we can click build structure. Now this, at the first tier, the farm that's built will only be generating 1 per turn, I think. But at higher levels, those improvements will be generating more. So I'm going to click that build structure. You get to choose which building do you want. 1 ammo per turn, 1 building per turn, and 1 provision per turn. These are not the right symbols. This here should be 1 building, and this one should be 1 ammo. So those icons are reversed, but you know that's simple enough to fix. And I'm going to go with 1 building per turn. And you can see it spawned the little thing right there behind that tree, and that will generate 1 more building per turn. So you do have a little bit of base development going on outside. You can build these sort of improvements that allow you to generate more resources. And why, I have to start wondering, did the developer decide that it would be a good idea to force the player, every time they want to perform a special action, to first select a unit, then open up the active unit tab, go to the skill tree, and then click on the skill button to use it. That's a lot of needless clicks. It would be better if you just had, like, instead of having this log here, maybe you had like unit information there, and whenever you click on a unit, you just get access. Like most real-time strategy games, when you select units in real-time strategy games, or just strategy tactics games in general, this isn't real-time strategy, as I pointed out before, it's turn-based strategy, but you can easily access a lot of those much used commands. It just doesn't make sense to have it buried in all those menus when you have to go spelunking through it continually. And that is a common thread throughout the game, is like things are buried in menus that they shouldn't be buried in. They should be out here as part of the user interface. And also you can't use the minimap, it's just completely dead. So you have to use the keys on your keyboard, or you can actually scroll to the edges as well. But like most games, that's suboptimal, let's be honest. So what is the objective in the end? Well, in my case, it was to destroy these enemy bases. I'm not going to be doing that, obviously. I have successfully played through 1 campaign. It probably took me about 30 minutes against 1 AI. And like I mentioned before, one time when I tried playing this, the map spawned and it didn't have me with a base or any units. And the next time it spawned and I think the AI got stuck. They didn't move their units for about half the game. So there was a lot that needs to be done here. The premise of the game is something that interests me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have requested a key for it. But I could not recommend anybody getting behind this project for the current price tag. If it was an open beta or even a closed beta that you could get into to give the developer feedback, but I think it's just bad to reward people by paying for products that are as unfinished as this is. It discourages them. It discourages them from improving it, like presenting a product that they can be proud of, and instead it just encourages mediocrity and get rich quick schemes. So that is Fall of Civilization, and I hope I was being fair. I know some people have complained that I'm too snarky about the games that I review if I don't like them. And I don't think it's that as much. I try to be a little bit entertaining in terms of personality and at the same time be constructive. Like I'm trying to point out things that should be different here in the game that would make it more enjoyable from my perspective. And take my perspective for what it's worth. I'm not an expert in the industry, as it were, just somebody who has played a lot of strategy games. So yeah, Fall of Civilization currently on Steam Early Access for about $6. Thank you very much for watching, as always, and I hope to see you next time.